Hi everybody. I was going to do this as a written write-up with photos, but it actually ended up being a lot easier to do it as a video. It was too hard to hold the camera and try to do this stuff at the same time. I'm going to give you a real quick walkthrough on how to make this $2 set of dollar store nylon collar and 48-inch dog leash and just a few simple tools into a really nice lanyard for your radio. Basically, with these tools here are really not even all required. I just happen to have them already laying on my desk, so I decided to go ahead and use them. Of course, all you really have to have from the dollar store is your collar. Comes on a little card like this. This one happens to be a Paws and Claws brand. You may or may not find that at your particular dollar store. Doesn't matter. You need a leash. Comes on the exact same looking card. This is a 48-inch leash. As you see, it already has the dog clip on it. The other end is simply just a sewn loop for your hand. I happened to find one that was a nice plain color. There's all kinds of crazy patterns, personal preference. The collar is very similar, except that of course it's shorter. You end up with a D-ring, which we're going to use, a nylon quick release buckle, which we may or may not use, this adjuster clip right here, that's definitely part of it, and a little keeper. So really all it requires to do this is you leave the dog clip just as it is, forget about that end, come down here to this end, use your hand, if you have bigger hands this is easier, spread this out so that you can actually see start to stretch the stitches in here. Once you do that, you just take your razor knife and carefully cut through to cut the stitches away and separate these two halves so that you end up with just one long piece of webbing with a little bit of remaining loops there and no loop. Then all I did was just trim what was left off over here with some scissors, just the frayed edges. Took a little lighter. This is all nylon, so remember it melts real easy. Just wave it back and forth a little bit on the loose end, clean it up a little, maybe smooth it down. That gives you a nice finished edge that won't fray out on you. This is going to be the end of our adjuster loop. That's about all you have to do with this for now. On the collar, simply just take it apart. You undo the clip here. It's a fairly strong little quick release here. Under here is almost the exact same little stitched connection that we had before. This one's a little tougher to get to. If you open your adjuster all the way out, it helps a little. But really what you're doing is the exact same setup. You're removing the stitches from in here. Use your razor knife, same thing, a little harder to get in. This part here, this secondary one, you can actually kind of leave it alone. What we're trying to do is get this D-ring out. You can just spin it around. It's just a compression fit. There's no well or anything there. Grab your pliers. I had a large pair of cutting pliers, worked really good. I'm not cutting the bar here. All I'm doing is using the jaws like a wedge to get in here and spread this open. This particular one here is really tight compared to the last one I did. You might need some smaller pliers, but you just get in there and squeeze. A regular pair of pliers would work fine. You probably would need two, but all you're trying to do is open this gap up just enough that you can kind of weasel this D-ring out of the collar, because we're going to use that later. Once this end here is released, then you're not going to have any problem just pulling this adjuster right off the end of the loop. All this stuff just pulls right off because you end up with a free open piece of webbing with nothing on it at this point but just the one end of the buckle. Now you've got all your pieces together, and all you have to do is, now that this loop of course, as you remember, is out, just thread your pieces through. You thread the adjuster piece through. You're going to want to kind of lay this around your neck and get the orientation right. I just wanted mine with the reflective part out. It looked better, plus this reflective thing's a little bit scratchy on your neck. But put your adjuster through the thing, slide it all the way down. Then you can put your keeper on if you want. You're just going to have to eyeball this and play with the order of how everything needs to go together to be the way you want it to work. But once you get all that on, then you take the D-clip that we took off, and it slides right in the loop here with where the dog clip is now. You put the D-clip right in, slide it right in, squeeze it back together as best you can. It really stays on pretty well. So you end up with this exact situation here with the D-clip coming off to the side. That is what the other loose end of this goes through. It goes through the D-clip. Remember, this loop is gone. This goes through the D-ring rather, back up. Your adjuster now is on here somewhere. It goes through it. Inside or outside is your choice, depending on how it's easier for you to adjust. And then the little keeper goes up at the top. That is it. The photo that's already on the site is what the finished product looks like. The first one I did is the exact same, but it's blue. This one just happens to be red. That's really all there is to it. The only other thing that I did was I ended up I had my hot glue gun already out. I was working on a foamy, and I ended up putting a little bit of hot glue, folding over the loose end and putting a little bit of hot glue under it just so that it couldn't pull back out through the adjuster. And that's all there is for the main lanyard. If at this point you want to make the throttle hold strap or the safety strap that goes around your receiver, your transmitter, what you're going to have left over is this is going to be kind of stripped down, and you're going to have one end that's free. I left the buckle right here on this. Remember, we pulled this D-ring out, and I left the buckle on the other end, or put it back on rather. So I had just a plain strap with buckles on both ends. And one end is going to be kind of loose, but you could just sort of fold that over and either stitch through it, maybe a little piece of wire. I just use hot glue so far, it's doing fine. All that is just a stop so that the end can't pull back out through the clip. And at that point, all you have is just a very simple adjustable piece of strap with two clips on it that I wrap around the back of the transmitter and clip it. Make sure it's over the throttle stick and just kind of pull it snug. Don't pull that too tight, but pull that snug and it wraps right around the back. The clip will end up down underneath the 2.4 gigahertz module or FM if yours happens to be that way. And that just kind of holds everything together and makes it less easy to bump the throttle while you're arming your servos and that kind of thing. That's really about it. If you got any questions, be sure to ask me, and I'll post any additional information. But this thing is really self-explanatory. Once you get the two parts in your hand, you're going to pretty much already know how it's supposed to work. I'll see you guys later.